SpongeBob has no real crossovers. What's the deal with that? Let's find out. Before I go any further, it's probably important to mention what I think of as a real crossover. Well, it would be the character of SpongeBob SquarePants interacting with a character of a different franchise, but canonically within the universe of his show, like during an episode. Up until this point in time, that has never happened, and it really gets you wondering why. When we're dealing with one of the biggest animated characters ever, wouldn't it make sense to pair him up with some less well-known franchises to boost recognition for those franchises? Seems like a lot of moolah is involved, and Nickelodeon is all about milking their biggest shows. Despite this potential, there has never been an episode featuring a crossover into another universe. Let's take a look as to why that is, and what crossovers do currently exist that feature the lovable Sponge. So first of all, if you want the shortest answer as to why Bikini Bottom isn't connected to anything else, it's straight up because Steven Hillenburg didn't want that. When showrunner Vincent Waller was asked why the team didn't do crossovers, he mentions that Steve doesn't want them. But as we'll soon find out, things get a bit deeper than just that. Pun very much intended. I'm sorry. If we understand SpongeBob on the most basic level, it's a show about characters taking place underwater. Right now, I want you to think hard about other cartoons that completely feature their characters in a similar setting, with not many instances of heading to land. Just finding anything besides SpongeBob is hard, and that goes to show you how unique it really is. Ever since we were first introduced to this bundle of joy, it was clear that his adventures were different from the typical kids cartoon. By having almost every single episode take place in the vastness of the ocean, the door is opened for original storylines that can't appear elsewhere. There are so many new things to explore. Now, yeah, it's possible for land creatures to be here because, well, Sandy's here, but I don't know. Turning that idea into a full-on crossover would feel forced, with almost no reason to happen. I think another reason Steve preferred no crossovers is because he always wanted a disconnect between what happened in his show and what happened in our world. This can be seen in pretty much any real-life connection you can think of, but just as an example, let's talk about Burger King.
Watch out! That's a good one, Patrick!
Flippable, floppable SpongeBob SquarePants watches now at Burger King. Only $1.99 each when you buy any value meal.
Hillenburg did not want SpongeBob interacting with the real-life products on the menu, and instead the Krabby Patty took the main focus. There's a disconnect between fast food and the SpongeBob universe. The same idea can be found in the special ad for Target from the early 2000s. How do you take an underwater creature and have him promote something that he shouldn't even be a part of? Well, you do it by keeping it 100% faithful to the series, with SpongeBob never leaving his underwater environment. It's not like we see store aisles of Target or real-life products, and the closest thing connected with the store chain is just the iconic dog. In this mac and cheese commercial, viewers are introduced to the various shapes they'd find in their box, and then we get a quick short with the same characters.
Ready, SpongeBob?
I'm ready! I'm ready!
Out of maze.
New craft, SpongeBob!
You gotta remember, at no point do they see the product on their screen and acknowledge its existence. It does not exist within the world of Bikini Bottom, it only exists within our world. I could really go on and on, but I think you get the idea. It's also a good reason why crossovers with other franchises seem so out of the question. SpongeBob is a standalone show. It cannot join forces with another because of that. But alright, there have been a few crossovers over the years that I should probably mention. And with that, I welcome you to the world of Nicktoons video games! You all know the ones where the classic characters combine their forces for an epic adventure that has to be played to be believed. Because he's their biggest animated property, SpongeBob appears in almost every Nickelodeon crossover game because people recognize him and he'll get more sales.
For the first time ever, Jimmy Neutron, Timmy Turner, Danny Phantom, and SpongeBob SquarePants join forces to battle the greatest criminal minds the Nicktoons universe has ever known.
Now, if you look at this gameplay and say, "Hey Vail, this is a legit crossover, what are you talking about?" Well, I honestly don't think so. These are almost never meant to be canon to the original shows the characters are a part of. They bring Nicktoons together with no explanation because it's just fun. That's what video games are supposed to be. The reason I don't consider them true crossovers in the franchise is because they're heavily disconnected from the source material. I mean, if you went by the logic that these should all be considered official, how do you explain Nicktoons MLB?
From the bubbly Poseidon to the historic Wrigley Field.
It's literally characters like Aang and SpongeBob playing baseball in real life. Was Aang a big baseball player in The Last Airbender? No, unless I was watching the wrong show and nobody told me. Has SpongeBob ever shown a major interest in baseball underwater? Not really. My point is, these games can be nice ways to pass time, but they should not be considered official crossovers. When we're talking about SpongeBob invading other franchises, I think there's only one example that comes close to what a real crossover would look like, even if it's not what you'd expect. The answer can be found not within SpongeBob, but during an episode of Big Time Rush. I promise this isn't a meme, just please hear me out. So alright, there was this massive 45-minute special that upped the stakes of a usual story. The guys get the chance to spend a day in the beach house, but things develop differently than how they imagined. At one point during the episode, they dig up an all too familiar hook and find out it's from none other than the legendary pirate himself, Patchy! Played by Tom Kenny, he's the real deal, and there's no explanation for why he's here. Don't get me wrong though, this is great! He and the guys go on a treasure hunt during the big beach party, and they have more than a few scenes throughout the special.
Stand back and prepare to gaze upon the rich treasure of Scratchy the Pirate. It's locked. Oh, well, boys, we gave it a good shot, didn't we?
While this is undeniably the closest we've gotten to an official crossover, it shouldn't really be seen that way, and let me explain. During his appearances, Patchy doesn't talk about SpongeBob or go on and on about how he's the biggest fan. Instead, he has his own storyline completely original to him. It's kinda hard to explain without actually watching the Big Time Rush episode, but in the context of this show, it feels like he's just playing the role of a generic pirate. The treasure hunt doesn't necessarily connect to his role on SpongeBob, and instead, it's his own personal life.
Not just any pirate, Patchy the Pirate. The saltiest, skull and bonesiest, hook-handiest pirate to ever search for buried treasure.
He still takes on the corny humor he's known for, but it's not really connected in any way to the underwater world of SpongeBob. That being said though, Patchy's very presence here confirms one thing. The real life in SpongeBob is also the real life in Big Time Rush. It doesn't have any meaning in the grand scheme of things, but hey, it's a pretty fun fact. At the end of the day, SpongeBob getting a crossover episode would not only make no sense, but it just wouldn't feel right. If we've learned anything over the course of this video, it's that Bikini Bottom and our world are separate places and should be treated as such. Of course, there's a real world that exists within the series, but that's still a fictional SpongeBob universe. At this point though, I probably sound crazy and I doubt anyone cares as much as me. Either way, let's just hope the crew maintains Hillenburg's wishes and they don't do a real crossover episode, since that would be disappointing. Are there any other big examples of SpongeBob interacting with other franchises? Maybe what I forgot to mention here? Let me know down in the comments. But anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe for more awesome cartoon videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.